Selling my daughter for 100 won. Chapter 2. The Way We Were Killed.
The house next door. There are 5 people in the house next door. Aging parents, a young couple, a suckling baby. The aging parents are respected. The baby is pitiful. Therefore the ones to eat less, therefore the ones to sleep less, are the young couple. Therefore, because they are young, they die first. In a family, in a village, in the city, in the country, exactly how many people are starving to death? I started counting with the deaths of the young couple who lived next door. The most delicious thing in the world. 3 months ago, my younger brother said, "The most delicious thing in the world is a freshly boiled ear of corn." 2 months ago, my younger brother said, "The most delicious thing in the world is a hot roasted locust." A month ago, my younger brother said, "The most delicious thing in the world is what I saw in a dream the night before." If my brother were alive today, this month, I wonder what he would say is the most delicious thing in the world. That woman. That woman could not speak, never meeting the eyes of others, answering anyone who spoke to her with sharp stares. That woman did not laugh, balling her fists, shaking them, spitting at anyone who laughed. That woman did not even cry, as she stood before her daughter's remains, buried deep within her heart. The sorrow for both sons may have been greater. Her lips quivered, she only shook. Suddenly, one day, that woman started to speak. She laughed, she cried, she took her own life. The knock at the door. When morning comes, there is a knock at the door. A few days ago, a handful of corn. The next day, 1 potato, coming like the wind, then is gone. The knock at the door. It may not come every day, but this heartfelt sharing among the destitute brings tears to my eyes, always waiting for the knock at the door. Days later I learned it had been Chil Sung, who lived next door, who loved my sister, until he died of starvation. The knock at the door.
Father in my dreams. My mother, my younger brother, myself. There are just the 3 of us, but Mother silently cuts the bread into 4 pieces. That night I sobbed in my dreams as I saw my father alive, cutting the small piece of bread into 4 pieces once again.
The apple tree house. In the village, that house is called the apple tree house. The grandfather planted it when his granddaughter was born, and it grew with her, the apple tree. When autumn came, the kindly grandfather counted the red apples. 1, 2. He counted the number of villagers. It was the pride of the village. It may be that the apple tree was fertilized with rice. When the rice bin was empty, autumn did not come for that house from that day forward. With fruit, the empty stomach is filled. 1, 2, plucked, stolen by unknown hands in the dark of night. No more ripening fruit of the apple tree. Continuous rainfall splits the leaves, piercing winds break the branches. The day will come when the fruits ripen, waiting for autumn, the apple tree. Trees, like people, could no longer bear the freezing cold, that winter day when the roots rotted. With one less mouth to feed, she thought, there may be a teaspoon left over. Those branches which once held ripe apples now held the granddaughter. Instead of apples, there was now only her pitiful remains hanging from the apple tree. The 70-year-old grandfather, wailing, lamenting, with an axe cut down the apple tree. In the village, that house is still called the apple tree house. A child's dream. What did the child see in his dream that made him run out into the night? What did the child see in his dream that he is not fearful of soldiers firing guns? What did the child see in his dream that made him hold on to when he died? Even in death, that dream was not released. That dream was a small ear of corn. End of the line. At the temporary station, the whistle blows. Train starving for electricity, taking 10 days to arrive. Suddenly a cry, a wail, blood gushes forth, a scream. The locomotive traveling thousands of miles painfully cries out. No longer a temporary station for a trip. If you don't get off, you can't live. If you don't get on, you can't live. The crossroads of life and death, the battleground of resolving death and life. Was it the death of that battleground, with the late arrival of silence, that hand, this hand, lifting, one body, another body being lowered off the train, corpses? They spent several days within that train, not dying of old age. They died in vain. Those days were too long for those dying before their time. Kanri Station, Suncheon Station, Pyeongsong Station, Anju Station. Each time the train runs, then stops. The people of this country have no sympathetic temporary station. There is only the last station of pain, as shown by the lives of these people. The roll book. The running train stops. The factory chimney holds its breath. Even schools and hospitals, one by one, close their doors. A white-haired professor, as usual, stands before the class, opens the roll book, with swollen lips, calls out the students' names. Whenever there is no response, it is as if a hole appears in his heart, insisting that they must learn, even if they starve, the white-haired professor. Today that professor isn't in his usual seat. his high standards, his high intellect, his high ideals, to the students looking at the front of the class, there is the picture of the late professor. Although the roll book is open, although the names await, there is no voice to call them. Here and there can be heard the passionate weeping, heart-rendering love. He gave his life to teaching. The future of your country calls as you stand before the professor's roll book. Awaken your conscience. No one has the right to be absent. The students all rise. Raising their hands, they cry out, "Teacher, I am present. Teacher, I am present." Their final faces. There are not even little hands to close their eyes. Their shadows drawn here, there, the fallen, the dead. No trucks or gasoline to carry rice for the living, asking to bury the dead that are rotting daily. Some starve to death, faces of skeletons. Some freeze to death, stiffened bodies curled up. Some die from illness, bodies with squirming maggots. Die this way or that way. The expressions on their faces as they approach their final hour seem strangely at peace, unlike that of our own.
I am a murderer. I am a murderer. By my own judgment, I am already executed. As I go to work, I carry nothing but my tears. Before people who no longer have the strength to beg, like an evil person, I pass, I ignore. As I return from work, those people are dead. In this way, from dawn to dusk, how many people have I killed? This alley, that alley, each and every day. Hundreds, thousands, countless. As we live in this land, where food eats people, where is our conscience? How can this be allowed? Sunrise, hurry, execute me. Night, hurry, bury me.
The palace. That palace is not for the living, neither was it built with millions to earn billions of won. To enter the remains of a single person, 3 million people are starving. It magnificently rises, piercing the heavens. Everyone sadly views it as the grave of 3 million.